The signal buoy stopped answering at the exact moment Delregion Prime expected it to beg. Counselor Sethra watched the tactical bloom on the reef glass wall, her 3 eyes fixed on the dead marker where the human envoy ship had drifted for 6 days. They had shot it clean. 1 rail slug through the drive core. No survivors, no distress loop. A lawful act under the border reclamation statutes she herself had helped write. The human called Envoy Adeyemi had come unarmed under a truce banner to argue over a mining claim, and the Delregion had answered the way strong species answer weak requests. With finality. "Confirm the kill," Sethra said. Then, open the reclamation filing. Her aide, a younger officer named Vosk, hesitated over the console. "Counselor, the truce banner was verified. If the humans dispute the killing before the assembly, we lose standing." "The humans are 3 months of transit away," Sethra said. "By the time their complaint arrives, the claim is settled law. Let them dispute a decision the galaxy has already forgotten." She was not stupid. None of them were. The Delregion had ruled this arm of the spiral for 8 generations by understanding one thing better than any rival. Distance is a weapon. Nothing crossed the deep gulf between stars faster than light, and light itself took a season to reach the human worlds. A killing here, in the quiet dark, was a killing no one could avenge in time. Their doctrine was built on the mercy of the void. The void gave them room to act, and room to be forgotten. That was the mistake, not the killing. The belief that the Gulf would protect them from what they had earned. The station where Sethra ran her reclamation office was a salt refinery, an old orbital thing that scraped mineral from a dead comet stream and pressed it into currency blocks. The corridors smelled of brine and hot machinery. Refinery workers moved through the halls in stained coveralls, and among them, unremarkable for 2 years, worked a human maintenance contractor named Halloran. He was a small man, with tape wrapped around the grip of his signal wrench, the tape gone gray from handling. He fixed the refinery's ancient transmitter array, the tangle of antennas that let the Delregion pulse pricing data across the sector. Halloran had a habit the other workers found soothing. When he worked, he tapped. A screwdriver against a housing, a knuckle against a pipe, a slow, patient rhythm while he waited for a relay to warm. The refinery hummed at a frequency that never quite settled, and Halloran tapped against it, matching it, a man keeping time with a machine. "You and that tapping," said Brill, the Delregion foreman, a broad, calm supervisor who had signed Halloran's work permits for 2 years. "Like a clock nobody asked for." "Keeps the count honest," Halloran said, not looking up. "Machine drifts. You listen long enough, you hear where it lies." Brill made the soft clicking sound his species used for agreement and moved on. He liked the human. Humans were cheap contract labor, patient and dull, good with the old hardware nobody else wanted to touch. That was doctrine too. Humans were tools. Tools did not listen. Halloran had heard every word of the envoy killing. He heard it because he maintained the array that broadcast the kill confirmation, and because for 2 years he had been doing one small thing the Delregion never thought to watch. He had been learning the refinery's transmitter down to its bones, every antenna angle, every frequency the pricing pulses rode. The exact timing the automated system used to shout its data across the sector, loud enough to cross the Gulf in a single season. The refinery had the only long-range voice in the region strong enough to reach human space, and the man who kept it running tapped a slow rhythm against its hull every day, learning its lies. On the 6th day after the killing, Halloran got a burst message on a private band, routed through a fishery station 2 jumps out. It was 17 words. He read it once, memorized it, and wiped the buffer. The message said the envoy's escort had gone dark on schedule and the window was open. It said, They killed our messenger, so we send the whole message now. Halloran did the math the way he did everything, slowly, against the machine's rhythm. The refinery's main pricing broadcast fired once every station cycle, a scheduled scream of data on the sector's strongest transmitter. If he could ride his own signal out on that same carrier wave, timed to the exact microsecond the automated system fired, the Delregion would broadcast his message for him, at full power, across the Gulf, before anyone thought to check what the refinery was saying. He would not need a fleet. He would need the enemy's own loudest voice, and one perfectly timed tap. The next scheduled broadcast was in 40 hours. That was his clock. He almost made it clean. On the 38th hour, Vosk found the discrepancy. The young officer had been auditing the transmitter logs, chasing Sethra's fear of a human complaint, and he found timing drift in the array. Tiny corrections. Someone had been nudging the broadcast schedule by fractions, aligning it, tuning it toward a single future moment. The refinery array, Vosk told Sethra, the human contractor. He has been altering the broadcast timing. Sethra's 3 eyes narrowed. Altering it how? Slowly, over months, as if he were tuning an instrument. For one beat, relief moved through the office. They had found it. A single unarmed contractor with a wrench, caught before he could do whatever small sabotage he intended. Sethra almost laughed at the size of the threat. One man against a refinery. Detain him, she said. Cut power to the array. Whatever he built dies when the transmitter dies. That was the sharper problem, and Vosk saw it before she did. His posture stiffened. Counselor, if we cut the array now, we lose the pricing broadcast, and the scheduled fire is in 2 hours. If we power down mid-cycle, the automated system logs a fault and reroutes to the backup transmitter. He looked up. The human maintains the backup too. They ran. Halloran was in the transmitter crawlspace, a hot, narrow gap under the primary array where the smell of scorched dust pressed against his face. He heard the corridor alarms start. He heard Brill's voice, then Vosk's, then the heavy sound of security moving toward the access hatch. He had maybe 90 seconds. The scheduled broadcast was closer than that. He did not run. He put his back against the housing, felt the transmitters hum through his spine, and started to tap. This was the thing no camera had ever bothered to record, the thing Brill had found soothing and dismissed. Halloran did not need the console. He had spent 2 years learning to feel the exact instant the array fired by the change in the hum, a pressure that built in the metal a half-second before the automated scream went out. He could feel the machine gathering itself to shout, and he had built his message into a hardware buffer wired to release the moment he closed one manual contact, a contact he could trip by hand, in the dark, by feel, at the precise microsecond the carrier wave crested. The hatch blew open. Security poured in. Brill was shouting his name. Halloran, stop. Whatever this is, stop. They will kill you. Keeps the count honest, Halloran said. He felt the hum change. The pressure built in the housing, the machine inhaling for its scheduled cry. Sethra's voice was in the crawlspace now, ordering him seized, and hands were closing on his arm, and the transmitter reached the top of its rhythm, the exact crest he had tapped against 10,000 times. He closed the contact. The refinery's strongest transmitter fired. It did not send pricing data. It sent Halloran's message, riding the full power carrier wave out into the dark, aimed across the gulf at human space, screamed at the loudest voice the Delregion owned. By the time Sethra's people wrenched the contact open, the signal was already gone, already crossing the void at the speed of light, already impossible to recall. They had him. They dragged him out of the crawlspace, and Sethra stood over him and for a moment she thought she had won, because the human had lost. He was caught. He would be executed. Whatever he had sent was one signal into an empty dark. "What did you send?" she demanded. Halloran's tape-wrapped wrench had fallen in the crawl space. He looked tired, the way a man looks when a long job is finally done. "Coordinates," he said. "Yours, this station. This sector. Everything my people needed to find the exact spot where you shot an unarmed man under a truce flag. Coordinates cross the Gulf in a season," Sethra said. "A season is time. We will file the reclamation. We will move the office. We will be forgotten before your fleet arrives. You still think distance protects you?" Halloran almost smiled. "My people already left. 3 months ago. The moment the envoy launched, a response force launched behind him, dark and silent, coasting, waiting for one thing, a firing solution. They have been drifting in your Gulf for 3 months with no target." He tilted his head toward the transmitter still ticking above them. "I just gave them one." The math landed on Sethra like cold water. The response force was not a season away. It was already here, already deep in the void she trusted, already close. And it had spent 3 months waiting for a single man with a wrench to tell it where to point. The Gulf she had used as a shield had become the room her enemy hid inside. Vosk was at the tactical wall. His voice cracked. "Counselor, new contacts. Close, dozens of drive signatures lighting up across the near dark. They are already inside our defensive line. They were always inside it." Sethra turned to Halloran. "You will not live to see it." "No," he said. "I won't." They killed him in the crawl space, quick and lawful, the same way they had killed the envoy. It cost them nothing, and it changed nothing, because the signal was already gone, and the fleet was already turning, and the man had never expected to survive. He had only expected to tap out one true thing at the exact right moment, the way he had for 2 years, keeping the count honest. On the reef glass wall, the near dark filled with human drive lights, dozens of them, then more, a whole force resolving out of the Gulf that Delregion had believed was empty. Not a complaint, not a filing. The whole message, delivered in person, exactly as promised. Sethra watched the lights grow and understood, too late, that she had never been protected by the distance. She had only been hidden inside it, with the humans, in the dark, the entire time. The refinery transmitter ticked once more in its housing, still keeping time, still tapping out the rhythm of a small man who had listened long enough to hear exactly where the mighty had lied.